Welcome to the Ricecast. I'm your host, Dan Pigsley. Sitting across from me is my friend and yours, Pastor Willy Rice. Pastor, how are you doing today?
Doing great, Dan.
Good. Good weekend?
Good to be here. Yep. Beautiful weekend, and lot of good things happening here at Calvary.
Absolutely. You were at Salt Church this weekend too, right?
Yes, I missed being here at Clearwater this weekend, and that's a great story. Salt Church is one of those churches that we helped plan as part of our X150 vision. Mm-hmm. Salt Network is a fantastic church planning network, and so they really had the leadership and the strategy. But about 7-8 years ago, we talked to them and really shared a vision, said they ought to come to Florida. So we had a little part of that. And Troy Nesbitt, the guy who founded Salt Network, a great friend, Mark Vance, who's the pastor at Cornerstone, great church in Iowa, incredible ministry. And they planted churches all across largely the Midwest at that point. And I said, hey, man, you got to come to Florida. They didn't have one in the South. So they planted in Gainesville. And, of course, my son Stephen was part of that original planting team. He's now pastoring in Jensen Beach. But I was there Sunday. They've got in their new building. A lot of folks at Clearwater remember we gave them, a check this past summer, and that was exciting. One of those big checks, they're in their new building, 2 services, both full, people getting saved, wonderful worship. Again, college students everywhere, but now they're starting to reach people in the community. Everything is up and to the right. God is moving there in an incredible way. Probably over 1,000 people easily there at church Sunday. And this is a church that 6, 7, 8 years ago wasn't even there.
Yeah.
I think about 6 years ago they planted. So it's incredible to see what God is doing, and that we get to be a part of that in some way, because of Calvary's commitment to church planting.
I love that. Well, and it's in Gainesville. And a lot of stuff's going on in Gainesville right now, Pastor.
Yeah, I was up there for kind of went up there, and, it was, everybody kind of knew the coaches probably was done. And then the next day, of course, I was preaching. But, fired our coach. Seems like we do that about every 3 or 4 years.
I'm getting used to it.
Yeah, since Urban, we have not held a coach, I think, more than 4 years. Mm-hmm. I think that's right. And I think Billy was our 4th one.
Yep.
And, we could break. Billy, I just want to say this. I think Billy Napier is a really good man. I think he helped Florida with a lot of culture issues. I think he started recruiting really well. I think they got a lot of talent there. But offensively, they just were not really running an SEC caliber offense, and he was kind of wanting to call the plays, and then there was just a lot of things that just kept happening.
Yeah.
And, in the end, you got to win ball games. It's a big business, and I think we have a losing record over 4 years, and so that's probably the worst 4-year run we've had, I think, since you got to go way, way back. Somebody said maybe in the 50s or something. Wow. So it's not been good, and they finally pulled the trigger, and so now we get to wait and see. Here we are in the middle of the year, and we got to let everything sift out to see who the next ball coach is going to be up there.
Did you watch his interview after the game? It's like he knew that was.
I didn't. I didn't. I was getting back and everything, but everybody said that. They said it's. I was talking to one of the Gator boosters even before the game, and there were some rumors he had been told before the game. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's true or not, but everybody seemed to kind of know this was his last game.
Would you go back and just keep Dan Mullen in the seat after the past couple of years?
Well, I thought Dan, that 4th year got ugly under Coach Mullen. It was clear some things were not headed in the right direction also. Coach Mullen was a great play caller. Yeah. He was a great offensive mind when he was on, but he wasn't really recruiting. There were culture issues. There were issues in the staff. So I don't think it was really headed in the right direction either. Mm-hmm. But we got to make a good choice because, boy, it has not been all that great to be a Gator over these last couple of years in terms of enjoying winning. So hopefully they can get a better coach, and I think FSU people are a little grumpy there too, and just like we are, we're all a little grumpy, and except for the Miami fans, but they lost, so maybe they were a little grumpy. So everybody's grumpy down here, maybe.
Do you have like a top 5 list you would want to see?
Well, I do. It's probably all the Gator fans talking about Lane Kiffin right now out of Mississippi, and I said it 4 years ago that just for the record, not that I'm always right, but I was right about this one. I said go get Lane Kiffin. He had just been at Mississippi a year or two, and I thought, boy, you could get him. And I felt like his trajectory was going in the right direction. You know, there are a lot of off the field issues with Lane and personality, but I really felt like, okay, he's growing up, he's settling down, and we ought to grab a hold of that. Now it's going to be awful hard. You know, Mississippi's got a good team. They're probably going to make a playoff run. So the hard question is, you know, you're in October. They're not going to be done till who knows when, December, maybe even January. Does he wait that long? Can you wait that long? Even if you wanted to wait that long, the pressure mounts. People are going to ask about it every day, just like yahoos like us talking about it on this podcast.
This might be the whole podcast because I got so many questions.
And so I just think it's going to be really hard to keep that at bay. It just becomes practically very, very hard. And so that's why a lot of times the one that's the obvious pick doesn't happen. Now, if you
He's
could,
your number one, though.
He's my number one. If you could just go get somebody, get him, and I'd go get him to be the head coach for sure. And then to me, it's a big gap. I don't know. I know there's other names getting thrown around, but
well, we've had the conversation who my number one is, and you don't like it.
Yeah,
but I like John Gruden.
Oh, Gruden. Yeah, I never know if that NFL coming back to college doesn't usually work.
Yeah.
I guess you could say it worked with Pete Carroll a couple years ago at USC. He had a good run. But I just don't want a Bill Belichick situation where you get a guy who kind of he's bigger than the whole thing, and it's kind of like, it's almost like a hobby, and he's doing all, weird things. Now, I like John Gruden. I mean, he's a really good coach, but I don't know that he's coached in college.
Yeah.
If he in a long time. So I just, do you understand the dynamic, the boosters, the politics of being a college football coach, and the recruiting? He did say something about coaching the SEC, so I think he probably would be for the taking.
And he's in the neighborhood, man.
He's in the neighborhood. He's in the neighborhood. So it wouldn't be my first choice, but hey, whoever they choose, we'll cheer for the Gators, see what happens.
And James Franklin sitting out there too.
Yeah, I'm not excited about that one. Not excited about that one. I mean, there's a reason he got fired at Penn State.
I know.
And I know he had a good record, but
he built a good program. He's there for a long time.
Yeah, but I like guys who win stuff. Yeah. Bring hardware home.
I like that. Well, that's good, Pastor. It's going to be fun to talk Gator football, Gator athletics for the next few months because we're just going to have a bunch of rumors, a bunch of things.
There will be things to talk about.
Yeah, but I want to just take just a few minutes today. I want to talk about one of, if not the biggest ministry here at Calvary, and it's our school, CCHS. I think it's an incredible ministry of our church, and it's been really cool to see because now we're about to celebrate just this weekend 25 years as a ministry here at the church.
Yeah, we want to talk about it because it is 25 years, and so there's going to be a little bit of a highlight, I think, in all of our campuses, the moment here at the Clearwater campus, because obviously we're right here on the campus, even maybe more special things. We'll have, by the way, the founding headmaster, some people call it principal or head of schools. He's the head guy at the school. Our founder, Tom Cathy, will be here in town. And, of course, David Kilgore's been here now with us for almost 18, 19 years. And they'll both be here. It'll be great to honor them. We've got a special service that night. A lot of alumni coming back. A lot of great history will be reflected on. So that's Sunday night here at the Clearwater campus, a big event. I guess that's invitation. I don't know that it's open to everybody. I guess I don't know that it's not. I guess I should have checked that. I know I'm supposed to be there, but it's going to be a great weekend celebrating 25 years, 25th anniversary of Calvary Christian High School. It's a big deal.
It's a huge deal. And I want to just go back all the way. Let's go back to the year 2000. I should go back to the year 1999 when the church really under Pastor Bill Anderson, they had a conversation like, what was Pastor Bill's heart right there? What was the thought behind starting a school?
Of course, everyone knows, if you've been around Calvary long, the legacy of Bill Anderson, who passed away last year. Boy, we miss him, miss talking to him, and still hard to believe, that he's home with the Lord. But what a great man, what a great leader, what a great visionary, what a great pastor, and a man who impacted my life so very much. We talked about it, did a podcast on that last year. And in his last couple of years, as he knew he was winding down, there were two things he told me that he wanted to do at Calvary. One was relocate the church to the where we're at today. It was downtown, and he understood what was happening. He knew that for the church to grow and thrive into this century, he felt like it needed to be relocated. And there were a lot of reasons for that, which, is an old story. So the property had been bought, plans had been schemed up. He wasn't able to stay and see it all the way through, but it would not have happened had he not set it up. It was all set up. When I came in the fall of 2004, we were still downtown, but everything was set to go. It was just, we kind of had to get it out of the gates, so to speak. And the second vision, one was to relocate the campus, and the second vision was to start Calvary Christian High School. And he did see that one through to fruition. Before he left, Calvary Christian High School was launched. I think he left in 2001, I think it was, or two, I can't remember. But one of those Januaries was the last one. I think it was 2001. No, it was 2002. January 2002, I think, is when he finally said goodbye. He announced it in the fall of 2001. So he got the school started. The first year or two were under his leadership. It got started. He hired the first head of school, Tom Cathy. They brought him in. They had raised the money. Skip Dvornik, who was an associate pastor at the time, still a member of Calvary, Skip and Stony. Skip was very instrumental, and it's kind of a walking encyclopedia about some of the history of the school. It was one of those projects Skip really took on and became a workhorse on, and so much is owed to him also. But the school was started under Dr. Anderson's leadership and vision, and it was launched, and he got to see it before he left. It was up and running and going.
That's pretty awesome. And so the school launched, and I actually remember I was in high school when it launched as well.
Right.
I was at Indian Rocks, and
Right.
I can remember being, I think it was a sophomore in high school, and we actually bussed down to downtown Clearwater one day.
Really?
And we toured the school as students.
Oh, wow.
It was very interesting. I don't know why we did that, but I remember walking through. I was like, oh, this is a new Christian school popping up.
There was, and I don't know, Skip honestly knows more about some of this than I do, but there was, I think Max Geisner, is his name? Gessner.
Yeah.
Max Gessner.
Uh-huh.
I know I've met Max. I don't know him well, but he was a guy I think who had worked for Indian Rocks or with Indian Rocks at some point. I don't know what his position was. Again, Skip would know all that. Yeah. But when we were getting Calvary started, he was a great help to us. I think by that point he was maybe not necessarily running Indian Rocks, but he was in a consultant role or something like that. And he was an enormous help. So, again, so much partnership through the years, as you know, because you came up from Indian Rocks. I was baptized at Indian Rocks. There's so many partnerships from Indian Rocks and Calvary. We're family. We're family. And they really helped, I think, give us some guidance and wisdom. It was a really unusual vision, and still is today, because Pastor Anderson's vision was a high school. And the vast majority of Christian schools do not simply start a high school. You start, it's maybe a K through 12 school. And I heard early on kind of an adage was you kind of make money in the lower grades, K through 5. You break even in the middle school, and you lose money in the high school. But if you put it all together, you can make a go of it. Which I don't know what that says for us. We took the hardest part, because high school is very specialized. You need sports, you need all the things, athletics, extracurricular activity, which is not as critical. I mean, you have that in an elementary school, but it's not as mission essential as it becomes in a high school. And so it's a very expensive thing. The classes, the labs, the computers, but Pastor Anderson's vision was to start a high school, and part of the reason was up in the north part of Pinellas County, there were a lot of K through 8 schools. Skycrest, who is another church that Calvary planted and is a great partner ministry of us down the road, they had an excellent K through 8 school and have for many, many years. I don't know how long their school's been around. Seems like forever. But they had a great K through 8 school. We didn't want to compete with that. They were our family, right? I mean, a lot of the people that worked there attended Calvary and still do. And then there were other schools in the North County. Countryside Christian had one, Westlake, which has now become a big partner. I don't remember when they were founded, but you had several K through 8 schools in the area. There was no Christian high school in the north part of the county. You had Indian Rocks, Keswick, and Northside all in the south. And you kind of had that little rivalry going there, but man, north of, East Bay, north of Gulf to Bay, there's nothing. Yeah. And I think he saw the need for that. And a lot of people said, the high school will not work. We had several, I won't name them, but you had several other private schools in the area, Christian schools, that even had K through 8 and tried high school and said, you can't make it work. Financially, it's just too hard. It's like you're not going to do it. And then when they heard you're not going to do K through 8, it's like, well, you're crazy. Luck, yeah. You're not good luck. Right. But you know what? He felt like God told him to do it. And that's exactly the way he would talk. He felt like the Lord led him to do it, and he wanted to do it at a high level. He did not want to do it kind of on a shoestring budget and like, let's just do a kind of fly-by-night school. I think he used to have a little phrase, I don't know what it was, but like something like Christian sloppy is still sloppy, In other words, you can put the name Christian on it, but if you're not doing a good job, it's still sloppy. Yeah. And he did not want to do it that way. I'm sure his quote was more elegant than mine, but he wanted to do it at a really high level. So they worked hard, they raised money, they tried to invest in things like computers and technology and the right staff, and to do everything out of the gate as well as a new school could possibly do it. But it's very challenging to do that.
And so the school launches, I believe, obviously in 2000. And, I mean, Mr. Kilgore's going to watch us, and I'll probably get an email because I probably got the stats wrong. But I think it started with 38 students and 7 teachers, something like that.
In that neighborhood.
Yeah, and so now we're sitting here 25 years later. We're, like, right under 900 students, and I can't even count the amount of staff.
No, over 100 and probably maybe over 200. I don't know when you add them all up. It's massive. It's massive. The school has grown to become, and we've often said this, and I don't really like the comparison game. Sure. I've often said comparison is the one thing that destroys beauty. You start comparing something to something else, you lose gratitude, you destroy beauty. But the reality is we can see it. It's one of the largest Christian high schools in all of America. I was told that it was the 3rd largest Christian evangelical high school in America. I don't know if that, I've been told that in the ACSI that accredits us. And if so, that's pretty remarkable. Yeah. 900 students, high school students, just under, it's like 895, something like that. Yeah. And really, the admissions is showing no sign of slowing down. It's become harder to get into, which we don't love that. I mean, we want to be a place everybody can go to school. But we're just out of room. We've outgrown our facilities there. We're holding classes in places that are good, but not the best, the ideal, because we're just having to use every square inch of our building. Everything we built in the last 20 years, we've grown, we've filled it, and overfilled it. So, we've got a great sports complex, but, you look at the weight room, the locker room. It was built for a school maybe 200, 250. And so it's just, we've had to build more. And so we built more in the Anderson Center, but which is our gym. But it's the growth has been remarkable. It's
been remarkable. And I think, obviously, Mr. Cathy had a great role in that. I knew Mr. Cathy when I was in high school, went on a few mission trips with him. But then Mr. Cathy kind of phased out, and we brought in Mr. Kilgore.
Yeah. Well, both those men deserve a lot of credit because Tom Cathy was the guy who's a builder, a visionary. I mean, it takes a lot for a guy to walk in. There's nothing there. And, they had started hiring a few staff, but he walks in, becomes a leader, and is from this area. Tom went to high school, what used to be called Dixie Hollins. Now I think they had dropped Dixie. It's just Hollins or something.
Just Hollins High School.
Just Hollins High School. Yeah. But anyway, I remember that because he talked about playing football for him, and he's kind of a wrestler guy, athlete. And he got it up and running. Tom's a wonderful guy, lives in Louisiana now. It's going to be good to have him back home. And he kind of got the school up and running, and I don't remember the exact, I want to say 6, 7, 8 years, somewhere like that. I should have checked all the math. But I think Mr. Kilgore's now 18, 19 in that neighborhood. And so you can do the math. So Mr. Cathy got it up and running, hired the first faculty, got us going, and then he got an opportunity to go work for the ACSI, which is Christian schools educators across the country. And we knew that was a critical moment. We did kind of a nationwide search, kind of threw the blanket out there, see what God would do. And quickly the name of David Kilgore arose. I didn't know David, never met him. And I remember some guys on our team who were helping us do the search. One of them is a guy who still helps us, Mr. Bill Williamson, who did a lot with the public school system in Pinellas County back in his day. He founded Countryside High School and a couple other schools and served in administration. He was on our search team, so he knew what to look for in an educator. And after interviewing David Kilgore, he said to me, "Pastor, that's your guy. That's the guy you want." And sure enough, he's right a lot of the time, Mr. Williamson. He's right most of the time. But he was seldom more right than he was that day. And I have looked back on that, grateful that God sent David Kilgore to us, who's now been with us almost 20 years. I think we're at 18. And what a leader he has been and what a builder he has been. So I'm grateful for both those guys. Tom, Kathy, it's going to be so good to see Tom and Gail. But 18 years now with David Kilgore. And I tell him, he and I we gotta stay here through this thing together. I've told him a couple times. I said, if you ever leave, I'm going with you. I don't know where you're going, but I'm going with you. And we hope God gives us many more years. Yeah. He has been just an incredible builder, leader. The students love him. But the thing I want to say about David Kilgore is this: I've often said, when you cut him open, like if you get a blood sample, in his DNA, he's a pastor. Mm-hmm. He's a pastor. He's a churchman, and I mean that in the sense of somebody who loves the local church. He never saw the school as being separate from the church. And if you try to get any daylight between the school and the church, and to distance the school as a ministry and extension of the local church, you're going to have to run through David Kilgore. Mm-hmm. He's not going to let that happen. And because he loves Calvary Baptist Church. He loves this church. He loves the work of God. He loves the people of this church. And our faculty know that. Our students know that. The church knows that. And I think that's part of, he and I have talked to other leaders in other places, because not every church school dynamic is healthy, unfortunately. Sometimes they're not very healthy. But when we talk to other leaders and they go, hey, what's the secret sauce? How did Calvary Christian High School grow to be this, incredible institution? I've said, well, it starts with the heart of David Kilgore and the partnership we have between the church and the school, that the school really is a ministry of Calvary. We know that it's a ministry that extends beyond Calvary. We always wanted it to be a gift to the capital C church in our county, but it has to be stewarded by a local church. And other schools do it different. There's no only one way you can do it. I know there are other schools that are separate from any church, and they're their own corporation. And so people do it different. I know churches that have spun their schools off. That's fine also. But for us, what has worked is keeping our school and church together. Mm-hmm. And the tail doesn't wag the dog. Mm-hmm. We understand the church is the church, the bride of Christ, the work of God, but the school is an extension and ministry of the local church.
I love that. And I don't want to spend too much time on Mr. Kilgore because he'll tell us to take the video down because it's the kind of guy he is. But I get to
very humble.
Yeah, he's awesome. And I get the opportunity to take my boys to our football games on Friday nights, and they love it. Yeah. It's so much fun for them. But what I get to do is, obviously, I'm watching my kids because I'm a good dad. But I also love to watch Mr. Kilgore because I've never seen a school administrator garner the respect and the love that he has, not just from his faculty, but from his students. Yeah. So we sit in the student section on the top because that's just a good section to be in. Yeah. And he's in the middle of them, cheering the team. It's incredible.
There's just something about it, and the thing I love about David is he doesn't have to try, doesn't have to put on. He's not, nobody wants to see a guy my age trying to act cool. Yeah. That just like you go, oh my goodness, you got to be who you are, got to be authentic, and he is who he is. He doesn't, he doesn't try to act like a kid. He just is who he is. But I think what the kids know is he loves them so much. Mm-hmm. He loves them so much, and they sense that. So he can walk right down in the midst of the student section where a lot of guys, our age are afraid to go, maybe, what are they going to say? What are they going to think? It doesn't matter. He walks right in there. He's leading cheers. He loves those students. They know that, and that has made such a huge difference.
Huge. And so now we're 25 years later. We have state championships all over our athletics, state championships all over our arts department. But you said something that I would love just to unpack for the last few minutes of this podcast. Is you said the goal of Calvary Christian High School, Calvary Church, is to be a blessing to the Big C Church. Mm-hmm. And what we have seen, as I was a pastor in the area before I came to Calvary, I can remember being a young adult pastor and meeting young adults that graduate from Calvary. Yeah. And I would just come over here, because that's the kind
That's
of
good.
it was the kind of young adult we were looking for.
Well, you've got churches that are, maybe not as big as Calvary, although some are as big as Calvary. But, we've got lots of kids at Harborside, Countryside Christian, which are also big mega churches. But we've got a lot that are in little bitty churches, small churches, neighborhood churches. And we wanted them to feel at home at Calvary. Like, we weren't trying to pull their kids away from a church or something. We wanted to add value to that church. And we wanted them to be encouraged. We want to partner together in that. And I think the churches have sensed that. I think one of the reasons is all these partner schools, Skycrest, Westlake, Countryside Christian, St. Petersburg Christian, all these schools know we're trying to partner with them. We weren't trying to undercut them or hurt them or any. It was more than a symbiotic relationship. It was just it was that, but it was just which is mutually beneficial. But whatever that is on steroids, we just love one another. We're family, and it's not just utilitarian. It's family. It's mutual respect. And that has helped. So we're so grateful for the students. I said years ago, Dan, that there's no reason for a church to have a school unless it's going to be a Christian school and it's going to be an extension of the mission and ministry of that local church. If we're just in the private school business, I don't know. I don't get all that excited about that. I mean, I'm sure that's a good business. I'm sure it's a needed business, and there are a lot of reasons why people would want a private school, and there's some very high-end ones in the Tampa Bay area. People go to that for various reasons. That's fine. But that's not who we are. We wanted to be a Christian school. This is a Christian ministry. It's an extension of that, and we don't apologize for that. And we have had families come through and go, hey, there's a little too much Jesus there. A little too much emphasis on faith. And we don't apologize. Right. That's who we are. You send your kids here, we'll try to get them saved. We want them to grow spiritually. We're going to challenge them to walk with God. Every teacher, we're going to be talking about that all the time. And what we found is not only did that not drive people away, maybe a few, but what it did is it just attracted so many people who say, we want that distinctive difference. As we all know, there are colleges and institutions that have been started that are Christian in name only. May have Christian kind of in the name, but once you get beyond the sign, there isn't much difference ideologically and academically. And we just don't want Christian to be in the name. We want it to be in the bloodstream, in the heart. This is who we are. You take a math class here, you're going to hear about Jesus. Your teachers are going to pray for you. They may be sharing the gospel. You play volleyball here, you're going to win a state championship. I hope our girls do. They're number one in the state. And they're right now in the playoffs. Maybe they can win the state championship. They're outstanding. But the volleyball teacher is going to talk to you about faith, and on I could go. That's what we wanted to do. We wanted to combine athletics, academics, and the arts, all permeated by this strong Christian worldview and Christian conviction.
Well, what's so amazing about Calvary Christian High School is, yes, it's getting notoriety here among believers, but even the world around us is noticing, something's coming out of Calvary. I mean, just this past, I think it was last month or the month before, Apple even called Calvary Christian High School. They said it's an Apple distinguished school, which means that the company Apple, where your computer and phone come from, they looked at Calvary Christian High School and say they value leadership, innovation, and vision. And that's a really cool thing. I'd love to have Dr. Kilgore explain that more, because I don't understand it much. But
I don't understand it. It just, but they've looked at how we use technology, and that's not, as you know, a Christian company.
Right.
But it certainly, they value education, want to invest in education. Technology has a huge role to play, and they looked at what we were doing and gave us that award. We've been accredited at the highest levels we can be in ACSI, FCIS, I think is the other one, which is just independent schools. And we're even working for the highest possible accreditation. We're going through the regular process again. So again, we've been very blessed. We've, received a number of accolades and awards, and that's because of our hardworking staff and administration. And but we're grateful. And if Mr. Kilgore were sitting here, he would be the first one to say, "God did it. God did it." I tell people that I think CCHS is kind of a living testimony of Matthew 6:33. Seek first the kingdom, and all these other things will be added to you. And in the early days, maybe we were struggling a little bit to build it, and struggling. You go through growth pains. And I remember that idea was, if we could just really become focused on building the kingdom and doing it the right way, doing it for God, for His glory, the Christian without compromise, God would take care of the results. And sure enough, He did. And so many people through the years, I coach Theo, who I've mentioned here, and he probably not listening to this podcast, but Greg Theo he's now coaching, I forget the university up in the Carolinas somewhere. He's a track and field coach, but he was AD here for a while. He had such an influence in terms of revival here. He just helped see a kind of almost a revival. Really, it was one of the closest things I think I've ever seen to real revival. And I'm not saying it wasn't. I kind of think it was. When those first couple of years after he and Mr. Kilgore arrived together, and we just saw students being saved, multiple students repenting. It was a beautiful thing, and I think it really turned around and shot the trajectory in a new place. And we prayed hard, we fasted, and we put God first, and then God really blessed and has worked through this school.
That's fantastic, and we're continuing to reap the fruit of it. I think there's teachers that I know that are teaching right now at Calvary Christian High School that graduated from Calvary Christian High School.
Yeah, we do.
I think Tristan Finlayson is a Bible teacher for sophomores. And then you also have Kyle Mullet, our worship pastor.
Yeah, we have T-Bill on our staff, in our, Kyle, multiple people who are working in our tech ministry. I think Nick's a graduate, so we've seen leaders. It's a factory of leadership, really, and we're trying to figure out the college component as we're working on that to add to that. But it's fantastic to see what God has done, the leaders that are being produced, and hey, it's a lot of people. It's a big budget, so there's always challenges. But what a great weekend to celebrate 25 years. And I often would tell Pastor Anderson, before he passed, when we talk every couple of weeks or so. And when the school came up occasionally, as it did, I would always say, Pastor, you'd be so proud of what has come of that vision. You saw it before anyone else saw it. You believed it before anyone else believed it. I've often said to people, when I got here in 2004, I was glad that there was a school. That was nice and everything. But I don't think I was passionate about it. I was happy. It was fine. There was I was focused on a lot of things in the church and things we needed to do. And but it within 2 or 3 years, it became part of who I am too. And now I love it. I have 3 kids that have graduated from there. God willing, we have a grandchild that my oldest grandchild might be a student there next year. That's hard to believe. My goodness, I'm not even that old, but somehow that's happening. And time warp or something is going on. I don't know. But I have grown to love that school. And I tell people I didn't go to high school there, but it's a school I wish I'd gone to high school at because it's just a fantastic high school.
Well, Pastor, like you said, it's going to be a great weekend to celebrate the ministry of Calvary Christian High School. What do you see in the future? Obviously we have Calvary Christian College moving, but...
Yeah, we're working on that, and a lot of things going on there. It's been a great year. We've got a spring semester planned for that. And by the way, check that out. Again, we'll talk about that maybe here as we get ready, but several great classes for people. You don't have to be pursuing a college degree. In fact, a lot of the students are not. They just want to grow in their faith. They want to audit a class or take credit, but you can get credit. We've got a pathway for at least some of those classes to get credit. Maybe all the ones we're teaching. I don't know, but you can find out. There is a path to get some credit. We're working on that as we build this program. Had about 40-some students, if you tally everybody taking classes for credit last time, which is really great out of the gate. But CCHS, there's still a lot to be done. We could be bigger than we are now. We have more students wanting in than we have room. If people are listening to this, the reality is. And so we are in the dreaming and scheming phase, not really in the sharing and publicity phase. Yeah. But we are in the dreaming and scheming phase of what some next steps might look like. And we've had lots of hard conversations, like, do you want to get bigger? How much bigger can we get? We're asking a lot of those very important questions. And, as X150 fades here in the next year or so, and we talk about what is our next 10-year vision, we will have some visionary steps for CCHS, and the whole realm of college education. And they will be big, and they will be very exciting. I promise you that. So a lot good is yet to come.
Well, I appreciate your time today, Pastor. Appreciate the ministry of CCHS and what it's done for churches in the area and just around the world, too. Church planners, pastors, missionaries, they've all come out of CCHS, which has been really cool to see. But, hey, if you are looking for a church to visit this weekend, we would love to see you at one of our Calvary campuses, whether it's here in Clearwater, Eastlake, Seminole, Crystal Beach, Safety Harbor, or Espanol.
You got them all.
They're all over there.
You got them all.
We're online. We got that, too.
Yeah, we got that, yeah.
But, Pastor, appreciate you. Hey, if you're watching, we love you. Know that you're being prayed for often, and we will see you next week here on the Ricecast.